most intense, thrilling, electrifying sport on the planet. Mixed martial arts. You've been looking for the definitive podcast to call your new home to hear everything about it. The search is over. This is the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. Bringing you the hottest MMA breakdowns straight from the heart of the octagon. This show is all about MMA breakdowns. For fans, by fans. We're talking UFC, MMA, and the occasional big boxing match. We'll bring our unique take on how these fights are going to play out and who we think are the best bets. Welcome to the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. And now your hosts, Olin, a.k.a. MMAnomaly, and Emiliano, a.k.a. Jive Turkey Nano.
Is up, fight fans? Welcome back to another episode of the MMAnomaly Show, No Filter. You heard the man. I'm the host, Olin, aka MMAnomaly, and with me, as usual, is the co-host with the most, Jive Turkey Nano. How we doing, brother?
Doing great, brother. Feeling good. It is officially November 1st, and I guess we are a household where we are now transitioning into Christmas already. Love Halloween. Love this time of year. We got a lot of festivities, but holiday season's ahead of us, man. I'm excited
as
can be. It's
beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Please don't DCMA us.
We do not.
So yeah,
that.
I love that. I'm going to be honest with you. I am a big holiday guy in general. We've had this conversation numerous times, I believe. My favorite holiday just passed. It was yesterday. That's right. It was Halloween. So love Halloween. It's the one excuse you get to be someone you're not. You know what I mean? You get to dress up as a comic book superhero or UFC fighter or, I don't know, whatever you want to dress up as. A princess, a Barbie, a Ken. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want to dress up as, we believe here at the MMAnomaly Show, No Filter, you are Knuff, or whatever they say in the Barbie movie.
Nice.
That being said, guys, I hope everybody had a fantastic Halloween. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Miss Mary. I appreciate that. She said, but you are a superhero. Oh, you're the real heroes, as Homelander says. Speaking of which, Gen V season finale tonight. Can't wait, guys. Can't wait.
Let's go.
I'm stoked. Oof, I'm stoked. So, getting sidetracked here. We do have quite a few things to talk about in this episode, and usually we start at the bottom of the fight cards here in the UFC, and we work our way all the way up to the top, to the main event of the evening. But this is a little bit of a hodgepodge, a little bit of a mixer, Catalina wine mixer, as they say. So, since it's a Catalina wine mixer, we're actually going to go ahead and start with some fireworks, folks. So we are going to jump right up the bat and talk about Francis Ngannou going in there against Tyson Fury. And let us know in the chat, guys, what were your thoughts on the fight? How did you score it? Did you honestly see that fight going that way? Because yeah. No, I'll let you go ahead and take the lead on this one, brother.
No, I mean, to answer your question, brother, I did not. I was thoroughly and pleasantly surprised to see Francis Ngannou representing himself, representing the UFC / MMA community. I was all over the place there. But just, man, great performance. An exciting night. I mean, man, I'm excited to break down the fight with you, brother, because, again, there was a lot of takeaways. Again, Ngannou, to me, shocked the world and earned a bunch of credibility back for everybody out there, right? This isn't some YouTube influencer boxing, right? And this isn't a retired Nate Diaz. This isn't a retired Ben Askren, okay? This is a Francis Ngannou, a pound-for-pound striker, someone who started off his career in boxing. A lot of people forget that. So it showed, man, that high guard, like you were telling me I need to work on as well, keeping those hands up, and ultimately leading to what felt like life turned into slow motion for a quick second. But Ngannou's knockdown, man, was just a thing of beauty, countering off the 1-2, slipping that left counter hook, which I was frustrated to hear that Tyson was claiming it was behind the head and was dismissing it. Brother, no, it was not. You fell to your side. you had that look on your face. You knew. I mean, that was on the temple, right above that big old dome there. It was not on the back of the head. Let's be honest. So that was a little perturbed me a bit. But again, all in all, it was a phenomenal fight. Exceeded my expectations. It was obvious that Tyson underestimated Francis throughout the entire fight. And although some people are mad that Francis lost, I can't sit here with a full heart, hand to God. Like, if there's a lie detector here, I wouldn't be able to say that he won full consciously. I have to look at the scoring. And although Francis shocked me, and, as much as I want to maybe take in the odds or take in some of the exterior narratives, the reality is you got to just take each round as it is and be true. And the reality was, it was very low scoring, low striking numbers. So it's hard to judge those rounds. But it felt after that knockdown, Tyson was still able to do enough throughout the remaining, I believe it was maybe 6 or 7 rounds to win that decision. I think it was close. I was similar to some of the judges there, like 90, I think it was 95, 94. But I had to go on Tyson Fury. Close. But Francis just didn't do enough down the stretch. Tyson was still able to counter, still look sharp at the end, and was able to get his 1-2s home. Stiff jab, and just those punches were starting to land and wear on Francis as well. The last thing I wanted to touch on was just the overall production was just really bad, man. I mean, I only tuned in for a little bit of the co-main and then the main event, but it's brutal watching something like that. I mean, Vince McMahon is there, owner of the WWE, like now partnered with the UFC. I mean, you would hope that someday they get it together there, because it's tough. Some of the downtime, the awkward dead DJs songs that are playing, and it just like nothing about it flows well. Complete flop. I mean, we got to call a spade a spade. It's not like it's something new. It's always been like this. Any Showtime or DAZN event, it's just not worthy of a pay-per-view. UFC or WWE, I mean, it is levels. Don't watch any of those and then try to watch one of these events. It is bad news bears, man. It's crazy. But overall, man, I mean, again, I love what Francis did. He shocked the world. I think he earned a lot of credibility. I'd love to see if he potentially just dives right into boxing based off that performance. I mean, hell, that'd give me all the freaking confidence in the world if he didn't have it already. But I just think Tyson did enough boxing wise to edge out on the judges' scorecard. Wish Francis would have done more to really solidify it. But again, boxing is a little corrupt, unfortunately. I knew they weren't going to give Francis the 50-50 decision. It was going to be leaning Tyson Fury no matter what. But curious to hear your thoughts, brother, because that was a fun event. I mean, at least a fun fight that exceeded my expectations.
Completely agree with that breakdown, man. It was a fight that definitely exceeded my expectations. Part of me wanted to pull an Ariel Helwani and pull the receipts on all the people that talk trash about, Francis Ngannou not being able to do anything against Tyson Fury. And if I would have actually gone through the effort of doing that, and the risk of getting strikes from other people's channels and such from doing that, I would have had to have thrown a clip of us from previous episodes into that same montage of us basically saying we didn't really think he had much of a chance in there. And that's from us who are obviously two fans of Francis Ngannou. Like, we enjoy the man. We think he's a great fighter. But I think it's okay when you say that we were wrong, right? Like, I thought Tyson Fury was going to go out there and walk all over him, but that was just not what Francis had in mind. And man, I mean, looking at the stats are almost misleading if you go and you look at the fight, right? Like, Tyson Fury landed 11 versus 6 in the first round, 7 versus 6 in the second round, he landed 1 versus 7 in round 3. So Tyson Fury only landed 1 shot in round 3, and he got dropped in that round, if you remember. So that was the most one-sided round I've ever seen in boxing that didn't end in a knockout. So that has to be a 10-8 round, right? If it's a 10-8 round, I think the best way to decide this is that it was a draw. In my humble opinion, I think going into those last 2 rounds, it was pretty much anybody's fight for the taking. And I don't think Tyson did enough to really sway the judges, or shouldn't have really been seen doing enough to sway the judges. Like in round 9, he landed 3 power punches out of 6 thrown. Ngannou landed 1, sure. But the round before, Ngannou outlanded him on power punches. The round before that, Ngannou outlanded him on power punches. The round before that, Ngannou outlanded him on power punches. Are you getting a trend here? Oh, and they matched each other on power punches landed in the final round. The total shots landed in the final round were only 2 difference. It was not a huge velocity driven fight, right? Like these guys were throwing calm, collected shots. You're talking about over 500 pounds of man in there going head to head against one another. So come on, you can't expect like 100 strikes to be thrown even. There were barely that many thrown from each side of the fence, right? So if you ask me, I really thought Francis Ngannou had done just enough to win the fight, but I also knew that they weren't going to let the new guy to boxing get the W, especially not on the judges' scorecards. So I wasn't upset, and I didn't think it was a robbery that Tyson Fury ended up getting that win, right? But even in losing, I think it's safe to say that Francis Ngannou was the clear winner of the overall war, right? Like he came out with more fans. He came out looking like a stud, and he also proved that he can do this. I mean, I think boxingrec.com or whatever gave him like a 0.5 star rating and put him at 590th, which is absolutely asinine and ridiculous, considering he just went toe to toe and put on the best match we've ever seen against the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. So put some respect on his name. I don't know if you have any names on the tip of your tongue. I have a name on the tip of my tongue. I have 2 names on the tip of my tongue, really, but curious, do you have anybody?
I mean, it's tough to say, man. I mean, I know he signed an exchange with Deontay Wilder. They respect each other. I don't know if that's too big of a shot to shoot for Francis. If it's just like, hey, throw him right in the middle of contention. Like you said, he's ranked in the 500s. So maybe there's a better name. Maybe it's, you know, getting dialed in a training camp for 6 months to a year and then getting into a big bout again, or just getting right back in there. I mean, the reality is he has a puncher's chance against anybody in the world. He's just knocked down, like you said, the lineal heavyweight champion currently and one of the modern day greats in the boxing sport. So I'm curious to hear your name. Now, I mean, other than Deontay Wilder, it's tough for me to pick somebody. It's like, you know, maybe he needs to get a couple just regular boxing bouts in. What are you thinking though, brother?
So I couldn't disagree more. I don't think he needs to get any more boxing bouts in. I think boxingrec.com or whatever that website is that ranked him 580th, they got it wrong. He should be a top 10 ranked WBC boxer. And I think it's got to be Deontay Wilder next. But we all know Anthony Joshua will beg and grovel for the fight because he needs the money, or he wants the money, and he thinks he's a contender. When in all reality, we've seen him get knocked out by the flabby guy that looks like the Hispanic uncle at anybody's quinceañera. Like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Come on.
Andy Ruiz.
Andy Ruiz, baby. Let's go. I knew you knew exactly what I was talking about. So thank you for that. Great job. So, I mean, we've seen him get knocked out by that guy who looked like he didn't even have a real training camp. We know that if that guy can knock him out, Francis can kill him in there. And let's not fail to mention that Dana White literally said before the fight happened that he had no interest in watching this fight. You know, this wasn't a realistic fight, that Tyson Fury should be focused on fighting real fighters or real boxers. That and he literally was like, you know, I heard Anthony Joshua talking about this fight the other day, and he was calling it a gimmick fight. And that's what it is. It's a gimmick fight. I don't know if you heard, but Anthony Joshua's boss was basically saying, "Oh yeah, you know, we'd like to see the Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou fight. He looked pretty good in there against Tyson Fury." Now all of a sudden, Eddie Hearn's all about it. Eddie Hearn was also calling it a gimmick fight before this. So, like, if I'm Francis Ngannou, I'm like, no, thank you. I'm a gimmick. So I don't want to fight you. I'd hate to water down your product with a gimmick fight. Deontay Wilder, come get these hands.
I love it. Any of those names, man. I love it. Wilder, Anthony Joshua, even that boy Andy Ruiz. I mean, a bunch of Mexicans will be tuned into that. There's a lot of boxing fans. So why not, man? Run it. Oh, even Usyk, potentially. He was in the crowd. Maybe he was more impressed by what Francis was showing instead of Tyson Fury. I love that shout out, Eric. It's a good call out, brother.
I'm not mad at that. And welcome to the chat, Eric. Always happy to see you, my brother. So, I mean, yeah, like, again, I would have been happier if this was considered a draw and then they just got the instant rematch after this. Again, power punches total landed. Ngannou outlanded him 37-32. He also was the more active fighter. He threw far more punches. When it comes to total jabs landed, obviously Fury was the longer man in the exchanges. He outlanded him 39-22 in total jabs. In total overall punches, 71-59. So again, I can see the argument for Fury. If you break it down round by round, though, I think Ngannou just barely walked away with it. So in my humble opinion, I would have been happier with a draw or Ngannou getting it, but we all knew that wasn't going to happen. So moving on, we do have a bit of a UFC card to break down here.
Yes, we do. UFC Brazil. First time since January of this year, so it's been a little bit of a slumber since the Brazil fans have gotten a chance to showcase all the talent that they have there, man. A lot of homegrown dogs. So I'm excited to break it down with you, brother.
Absolutely, baby. I am ready, and let's jump right into it, man. So we got UFC Brazil, aka UFC Fight Night Almeida versus Lewis. We're talking about Jive Turkey Almeida versus Derek Lewis, folks. Mr. Hot Balls himself. But before we jump into that, we got to start off at the very, very bottom of the early prelims here. You already know. And we want to know your thoughts in the chat, guys. Let us know how you feel about Cal Fernandez fighting Mark Diakase, opening the card. Mark Diakase, I mean, this man was on main cards not so long ago, and now he's starting off the card. Intrigued to hear how you feel about that. Nano, do you think that this is a good look for him, a bad look for him, just a look for him?
I mean, hey, it's an honest look for him, right? I mean, like you said, he's somebody that we are familiar seeing on main event cards and just a familiar name in the UFC over the past recent years. Mark Diakase is 16-7, 30 years old, has 6 knockouts under his belt. But I think the reason why he's a bit lower on this card is because he is on a 2-fight losing streak. You hate to see it, but I think that means we're going to see a hungry junkyard dog that's ready to go out there. He knows what's on the line. He has a win over a groovy Lando, one of our favorite fighters to chat about back in the day. But yeah, man, I mean, I think he has all the tools. He's a fun, explosive fighter who really relies on his striking. He's willing to get one and take one. Obviously, like I've mentioned, coming off a couple losses, but this is a winnable fight for him. This guy, Kawhi, I would need to double check his name here, Mr. Fernandez. At 8-1, 28 years old with 4 knockouts. Impressive record. Unfortunately, just don't know too much about him. I have not seen him against in the octagon against UFC caliber fighters. Oof. You say that 5 times in a row. So with that being said, it's hard for me to assume he's going to go in there and hand Mark Diakase his 3rd loss and his potential ticket out of the UFC. I don't see him stamping that timestamp. I think Mark's going to find a way to use his explosive strikes to get it done. What about you, brother?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. There at the end, the way you were wording that, you had my heart beating. I was scared. I was like, wait, is he saying Fernandez? Is he going Fernandez here? Is this like rolling tide right now? No. So I got to completely agree with you here. Mark Diakase is somebody that has looked really good up until his last 2 losses, right? He did recently lose via Bravo choke in the 2nd round, 4 minutes and 26 seconds in against Joel Alvarez. But come on, guys. Joel Alvarez might end up being on the cover of He's a Dog Volume 2. That man is an absolute dog. El Phenomeno. Jeez Louise, got to brush up on my Spanish, am I right? Anyways, Mark Bone Crusher Diakase is the person we're talking about, not Joel Alvarez. But before that, who did he lose to? Michael Johnson, who has wins over people that you may have heard of, like, I don't know, Dustin the Diamond Poirier, maybe. I don't know. That's somebody you might have heard of. So the man's an absolute beast. The bad thing is they just happen to keep pairing him up against beasts. Before those two losses, his last two losses were back-to-back Rafael losses. That's right. I'm talking about Rafael Fiziev and Rafael Alves. So in between those four losses, though, the man had a win over Slavoklas. You know what I'm saying? Vyacheslav Borshev. And that's the standout young man from Russia fighting out of Team Alpha Male. So Mark Bonecrusher Diakese was able to go out there and out-wrestle that man. He got a unanimous decision over him. And then after that, he went out and did the same exact thing over Damir Hadzovic. Now, looking across from him is Cal Fernandez fighting out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And he has 8-1, right? 8 wins, 1 loss. Now, here's the awesome thing about this fight. As Goalie would say, these men have a 2-year age difference. Everything else is virtually identical. They have the same exact height, the same exact pounds, obviously, weight classes, duh. And, they have the same exact freaking reach. So it's going to make for an absolute banger of an event that's going to really, really come down to who has it in the tank and who has the better skill set overall. Now, looking into his opponent here, Cal Fernandez, he's fighting out of Team Nova Unao, who is a renowned team of yesteryear when it comes to MMA facts and fun stats. Now, as Nano so eloquently stated, he hasn't really fought the who's who in the UFC octagon. This is going to actually be his UFC debut, right? However, we got to look at what he's done outside of the UFC octagon. He's fought in Chuto Brazil, which is actually a really notable Brazilian promotion. And in that promotion, he went completely undefeated. It wasn't until he transitioned from Chuto Brazil to LFA when he actually suffered his one and only loss. And that was to Luan Andre Souza Sardinha. And he lost a unanimous decision in a 3-round bout. That was just back in 2021. Since then, he's had 2 back-to-back wins over Jose Arly Carvalho and Felipe Douglas. And both of those, by the way, were kick knockouts. One was a body kick, one was a head kick. Oh, by the way, they were both in the very first round as well. So as a betting man, I'm going to say either Mark Diakese money line, probably a safe bet, or if you want to hedge it a little bit, go with Cal Fernandez in the first round. Dude's an absolute firecracker. You got to think he's coming out here to make a name for himself. And not only that, but to make that extra 50 G's in his pocket.
Sheesh. Some fireworks here in the early prelims. You never know.
Welcome to the chat, Miss Beach. Love the name. Fury got beat. Ngannou won. Tyson Fury got exposed. Tell us how you really feel. Also, love that display picture. That's gorgeous. I don't know if that's a self-portrait, but just absolutely fantastic stuff. And yeah, welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already.
Appreciate it. And that's a solid take. I mean, we were just talking about it.
We were just talking about it.
It was tough. I mean, great performance by Francis. He's a dog. And I'm excited to see what's next for him.
The news goes.
You know what I'm saying? That's how boxing goes, guys. I don't know if a lot of people that watch that fight are new to boxing, but boxing decisions are just a little bit sus, as the kids say these days. So moving into the next fight, we're not going to break down every single one of these early prelims, or else we'd probably be here all freaking night, guys. And we don't want to take up your entire evening. We know you got other things to do, but we appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your Wednesday evening to spend it with us. So moving forward, we are going to jump into this next fight. We're going to skip ahead one fight. We'll go ahead and skip past the Eduardo Moura versus Montserrat Ruiz fight, unless you have any dire facts you want to throw out on that one.
Nah. Should be a banger, though. I think both ladies are going to be coming out swinging. So, should be a quick one. Tune in.
Absolutely, my friend. So moving into the next fight, I do actually want to talk about this one just a wee bit. We got San Diego's very own Angela Hill coming in against Denise Gomes. Nano, who do you think is going to win this?
Ooh, this is a tough one, man. This is a tough one. I know it's your hometown girl living in a lonely world, but she's going a long way out of San Diego. She's leaving the country here. She's going to Brazil, where they speak Portuguese. And it's a different breed, man. I'm curious to see how she does in the travel. I mean, the reality is Angela Hill, she's been around the block, okay? She ain't no stranger. She's been here before, okay? At 38 years old, she's fought just about anybody and everybody. Has a 15-3 record. That scares me a little bit. I didn't realize how literally almost 50-50 she truly is when it comes down to that record and her performances. Especially being at 38 years old, that scares me as well. But the reality is she's a well-rounded, she's a gritty fighter. She has a lot of weapons. She's snappy. She can display, or I guess she has a variety of striking in a multitude of different fighting, situations. You know, she's seen it all. Again, 30 fights here, 38 years old. She's been around the block. Unfortunately, it just feels like these are, the sun is setting. Feels like this may be the last few fights that she's going to have here. I'm hoping she's going to go out on her shield and showcase all those skills at the highest level. But the reality is she's going up against a Denise Gomes, who is an absolute savage. 23-year-old at 8-2 with 6 KOs. That finish rate is phenomenal. And this girl looks really tough and seems to be a soon-to-be bright star here in the UFC. I think there's a reason why she's on this Brazil card. Again, they're going to try and showcase a lot of their talent. And like we've seen historically over the years, Amanda Nunes, Charles Dubronx Oliveira, the Spider, Anderson Silva. The list goes on of just absolute greats. Vanderlei Silva. We can probably do an entire hour of just how many Brazilian fighters and previous champions there are. But I digress. Again, this is a potential another future star here in the UFC. I feel like her fighting style is just like she's constantly seeking the violence, willing to get into more technical exchanges. She's not just throwing complete caution to the wind. She's got a good, well-rounded game. And man, she's put some women down. 6 KOs. She has some serious power. So I am nervous about Angela Hill. This is a tall task and a very tough and gritty fighter. Angela Hill's not just going to get out of there very, very easily. This is essentially a pick'em. Denise Gomez is the favorite at -135, which is where I'm leaning here. Again, the hometown kid, 15-year age difference. I like my young bucks typically, especially when it comes to betting. And I'm hoping for Angela to showcase her skills and maybe have a few more good performances. But this is tough, man. Denise Gomez is a tough savage, and she's young and she's hungry. She wants what Angela Hill might have had back in the day. So I'm leaning Denise Gomez here, man. Probably by decision, because I don't think Angela, she's gonna have to get something broken, or she's gonna have to get wheeled out of there. She's not gonna go out. She's going out swinging. I want to say. What about you, brother? What do you think?
Man, love that breakdown. Love that analysis. I got to be honest, I'm a bit scared as well. Angela Overkill Hill. Not only does she train out of the hometown here in San Diego, but she trains out of Alliance MMA, which is partnered with Victory MMA, which is where we train. So I got to go for Angela Hill here, but I am a little bit scared. As you said, Denise Gomes, she got 6 KOs/TKOs to her name, but I'm here to play devil's avocado and say Angela Overkill Hill has 5 to hers. And she also has 10 decisions. You know what that tells me? That tells me that the girl has a gas tank. The girl can grind it out. And of the 2 losses that Denise has, one is via KO loss and one is a decision loss. So the thing is, we've seen her lose in her UFC debut to Konklak Sufasora. You know who I'm talking about, right? A lot of people don't know her by her real name. I'm talking about Loma Lookboonmee. Loma Lookboonmee has had an up and down career. Loma Lookboonmee lost to Angela Hill just 3 years ago. And then she went on to beat Denise Gomes, son. So that's right. That's right. You know what I'm saying? I think Angela Overkill Hill has the skills to pay the bills. And I think she has the skills to go out there and beat a very game Denise Gomes. Denise is an actual, she's a beast, right? Trains out of Piranha Valley Tudo. And she's from Brazil. They're fighting in Brazil. She has the home field advantage, but I don't know if it's actually going to prove to be an advantage for her at all. I think Angela Hill is going to get this W. So I'm going Angela Hill money line on this one. Yeah, we're not going to go over our official bets or anything this week on the episode. We're working on maybe doing some like switching over to the DraftKings regular app for the next week's episode, but we'll get into that bit later. But if I had to bet as a betting man, maybe a little side bet after the show here, I'm going Angela Hill money line. I like the odds on her at plus odds, and I think it just makes sense. So we'll go ahead and move right into the next one here. The next one I got on my list, like I said, we are going to skip through a little bit here. I say we jump right on up, unless you want to talk about any of the other ones on the preliminary card. Do you want to jump right into the main card here?
Ooh, brother, I'm happy to follow your lead, man. I'm surprised you didn't want to break down.
Hinat Vakhretdinov?
Absolutely, that one was one I had circled up, brother.
I should have just waited and let you go ahead and just say the name on your own. I feel like that would have been a good show in its own.
I know. I don't want to know if I want to TikTok or go viral with all of my butchered names here. I am cultured. I should be able to get this somewhat, but Rinat Vakhretdinov.
Oh, dude, not bad.
It's pretty solid. I feel it's pretty solid.
Yeah, not bad. I think it's Hinat, but other than that,
Hinat.
solid, bro. Yeah.
Thank you. That HR is silent, I guess. Okay, fair enough. I'm learning. But yeah, bro, that's an exciting one. I mean, the man's 32 years old, 21-1, 11 KOs, 6 subs on his under his belt. No losses in the last 10 years. We're talking about a decade, ladies and gentlemen. Dude hasn't sniffed a loss. But Rinat, man, I mean, frankly, I think he could have got charged for manslaughter for what he did to Kevin Lee in his last outing. I mean, my goodness, he just big brother that guy. And he proved to me, man, okay, he's a legitimate fighter, okay? Kevin Lee is no joke. He's no slouch. And Rinat, I mean, again, coming in with a really impressive record, great streak, really talented kid. But I'll tell you what, man, Brazil has something cooking, bro, because this guy, Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, I don't know if it's something in the name, but this guy's also a freaking savage, bro. Dude's got heavy hands. I mean, we're talking lethal power, cement in this guy's hands, man. I don't know what they have out there in the water. But 24-7, 36 years old. That's the only thing that scares me. He's a little bit older. 14 KOs, though, brother. Again, this guy.
Dude's nickname is Capoeira.
Oh, bro. I'm sure
that'd
that
be like someone's nickname being karate or someone's nickname being like judo. Like he's nicknamed after a style of martial arts.
I mean, brother.
Capoeira, if you don't know what it is, that's what Eddie Gordo from Tekken does.
Oh, geez. Damn, great show or a great game. Great reference. Wow. Well, that says a lot. I mean, this guy has a win over Benoit Saint Denis and Abubakar Nurmagomedov. So he's beat a machine, a military veteran, and a Nurmagomedov. So
everybody give it up in the chat for Emiliano tonight, hitting these name pronunciations. Jeez. My goodness.
We're a global program. We're a global program. That's what we do in this program. That's what we do. We're global, baby. All for the program. But yeah, brother, it's that was a fun one. Honestly, I wanted to slam Rinat, but it is. The more I looked into it, the more I thought, man, this guy is. There's something about it. You know, I don't know a lot of these Brazilian guys. They're not household names yet. I wouldn't be surprised if Dos Santos can find a way to edge out a victory here in his backyard. However, my gut's going Rinat. I am going to go Rinat here. How do you feel about this fight, brother?
Well, we got one guy named after a style/discipline of martial arts here in Capoeira, and we've got another man nicknamed after, I don't know, what started this whole sport, Gladiator. So it's Gladiator versus Capoeira. Who do I think wins this one? Well, I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be a very, very closely contested bout. I think Hinat Vakhretdinov fighting out of Moscow, Russia, but training out of American Top Team, which I think is something you got to mention when you bring this man's name up. I mean, he's got a who's who of training partners when he's out there, right? And he has one loss, but that loss was back in 2013, a literal decade ago. And that was a long, long time ago in fight years, right? A whole lifetime ago in fight years. Since making it to the UFC, this man has only had 3 fights, but it's been 2 decisions and 1 guillotine choke. By the way, the guillotine was over Kevin Lee. As Nano said again so eloquently, he big brothered the young man. And he did it in 55 seconds of the very first round. That's all it took to choke that man out, which was wild because Kevin Lee is, again, a name, a very noteworthy name. However, standing across from him is not just a scrub. We're talking about Alicio Zaleski dos Santos, aka Capoeira, who is fighting out of Francisco Beltrão Paranha, Brazil. And this man is just an absolute beast, okay? The only 2 losses that we've actually seen him suffer in the UFC were to Jingliang Liang, aka the man whose suit we never got to see on the stage, and Muslim Salikov. His wins, however, the people that he has beaten, okay, Abubakar Nurmagomedov, Benoit Saint Denis, which again, Nano was so great and able to end up just, describing to us. However, there is something that you failed to mention here. He's got a win over Sean Strickland, son. We're talking about a spinning wheel kick followed by punches. Look it up. It happened, mother. For real though, he did actually get the win over Sean Strickland back at UFC 224, Nunez versus Pennington, 2018. Before that, beat up Max Griffin. Before that, he beat up Lyman Good, who you might not recognize the name, but man, let me tell you something. If you looked up Lyman Good, you would know the man looks like a freaking action figure in the most horrifying way. He looks like a supervillain. He's also beaten Omari Akhmedov, Keita Nakamura. The list goes on. Luigi Vendramini. Now, here's the thing. His last loss before the Jingliang Li loss and the Muslim Salikov loss was to a young man named Nicholas Dalby. I'm not bringing that up because it has any relevance, because listen to me, folks. That fight happened a long time ago, okay? It happened back when Carlos Condit was fighting against Alves. Long time ago, back in 2015. But I'm bringing it up because I'm going to recall it at a later time in the episode, okay? When it comes to a young man named Nicholas Dalby. That being said, Alicio Capoeira Zaleski dos Santos. Oh man, I got a scary, sneaky, scary feeling that this young man, he might end up going out there and just getting it done. But if he gets it done, it is going to be a finish, right? He's going to get it done via knockout because he has 14 of those to his name. Not a huge submission guy. He's got 3 submissions, and I don't really see him submitting the Gladiator, Hinat Fakhretdinov. If Hinat Fakhretdinov is able to get suckered into a brawl at all, Capoeira wins this 9 out of 10 times. If Hinat is able to keep his distance, control the pacing of the fight, and lead the dance, so to say, I think that he will actually be able to get the win. Again, as a betting man, I would say hedge your bets here. Go with the favorite here on the money line and Hinat Fakhretdinov, and then go with Alicio Capoeira Zaleski dos Santos inside the distance, which should get you some pretty juicy plus odds.
I like that a lot. Solid. This is going to be a banger, y'all. Make sure you tune in.
Yeah, I mean, either way, this one's got money written all over it. Man. Moving into the next fight of the evening, we are going to jump into the main card now. Because the main card, it's filled with bangers. Originally, we were supposed to get a couple of fights that we're not getting. Personally, kind of like these fights a little bit better from a fan standpoint, not from a competition standpoint, but that's okay. Of course, the fights I'm talking about are Kyle Burayo coming in, originally supposed to fight Nursultan Ruziboyev, and now he is coming in, Kyle Burayo coming in against Abus Magomedov. A step up in competition, in my opinion. But we'll see how it plays out for him. And then, obviously, the main event had a little bit of a switch up here. Was supposed to originally be Jailton Almeida coming in against Curtis Razor Blades. But instead, it is Jailton Almeida coming in against Derek Hot Bowels Lewis himself. Now, jumping into the first fight of this main card of the evening, we got one from hell, Vince Pichel, coming in against Ismael Bonfim. He's one of them Bonfim boys. Tell us your thoughts on this fight, Nano.
Let's go. Honestly, I think that the UFC is throwing our boy Ishmael, one of the Bonfim brothers here, a bone, a little bit, low-key. 27 years old, 19-4 record, 9 KOs, 6 submissions, very well-rounded UFC fighter. Coming off a tough L, let's be honest. But again, he's looking to bounce back, going up against a Vince from Hell Bichel. Great name. I love that. But he's 40 years old, brother. I mean, 4-0. Okay, he's not Tom Brady. Okay, he's not Aaron Rodgers. Although he's 14-3, he has a good record with 8 knockouts. Man, it's coming off a hip injury. I mean, man, who cares? He's 40 years old, brother. I just can't do it. I think they're throwing Ishmael Bonfim a bone here. I think he's going to find a way to get a finish against the older guy and send him back to hell. HE double hockey sticks. What do you think, brother?
Well, I know you're right about it. I like Vince from Hell Pichel. Follow him on Twitch. You should too. It's a very fun follow. Now, I mean, look, his last 3 wins were Roosevelt Roberts, who got cut. You saw him on Tough. Austin Hubbard, who got cut. You saw him on Tough. And Jim Miller. Now, Jim Miller is a hell of a name to have a win over. Jim Miller's still racking the wins up, folks. The man just got a win over Eric Gonzalez, Nicholas Mota, Donald Cerrone, Jesse Butler. Another guy who got a win over Roosevelt Roberts. Man, Roosevelt Roberts had a hell of a rough run in the UFC, folks. But again, this man is someone who is still a beast. As Nano said, coming off of a bit of a hip surgery here, he's 40 years of age. Typically, you want to go with the younger man in these types of situations. Ismael Bonfim is somebody who is a bit of a beast. But here's the thing. In that Benoit Saint Denis fight that he recently lost, there was something that worried me a lot about it. And that's this. The man looked absolutely lost when he got put on his back. And Vince, if there's one thing you know about that Vince from Hell Pichel, he's going to put you on your back, son. Let me tell you something about it, right? So I think that's what's going to happen. I think Mareta is going to get put on his back, and I hope he packed the lunch, because Vince from Hell Pichel is going to make him know that he is in a fight. And he is going to tire him out. He is going to exhaust him. And, I mean, Ismael Bonfim, he's a beast, right? He's got 4 submissions to his name. He's got 9 KOs to his name. One of those, by the way, flying knee knockout over Terrence McKinney, the Mushroom Kid. But before then, just like you were saying about some of the other competition we're seeing on this card, Nano, who have we seen him fight that's UFC caliber? His only win over a UFC caliber opponent was Terrence McKinney, and Terrence McKinney has a kryptonite in the octagon, and it's knees. Every time he's lost in the octagon, it's been from a knee. So, like, I don't know. I want to say Ismael got lucky, but Ismael found the cheat code, right? So I just don't know that Vince gets hit by that. Vince is pretty damn hard to put away. The man's been in, 17 fights? He's only been stopped 3 times. Realistically, he's only been stopped twice, and the other one was a decision. So Gregor Gillespie and Rustam Khabilov, I just don't know if Ismail's that guy or that caliber of guy.
Well, we'll be doing a shot on it, brother, because I seem to believe that he is that guy. I think he is him, pal. He is that guy, pal.
Operation Fade the Bonfims is in full effect this week.
Oh, man.
And I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you why
pissing
later,
off
baby.
A lot of Brazilians over here, like Chael Sonnen and Colby Covington over here, man.
Jeez.
You're the third coming.
You already know, baby. You already know. Don't make me play that clip. Moving
I got it in the chamber.
Next one. I got it in the chamber. Brazil, you're an absolute. I'm just kidding. I love Brazil. I've never been, but I'd love to go.
Same. They seem like really cool people.
Moving into the next one, I'll go ahead and announce these names or pronounce these names so that way Nano doesn't have to crush himself here. So this is a Brazilian R, so you want to make sure that you say it like an H. So it's Rodolfo Vieira, versus Armin Petrosian. Now, Armin Petrosyan is one of those guys where I really thought that when we saw him, Superman Petrosyan, I thought he was going to be the next big thing. He's coming in here against a young man named Rodolfo Vieira, aka the Black Belt Hunter, fighting out of Fusion Excel Performance. The man has 8 submissions out of his 9 wins. He's an absolute stud on the mat. He got the triangle choke, the arm triangle choke specifically over Cody Brundage. He got the rear naked choke over Dustin Stoltzfus. In the Chris Curtis fight, he just couldn't seem to really find his grounding, right? Chris Curtis was just able to outclass him in that fight. I don't know if Armin Petrosyan is going to have the same ability in this matchup. However, the man's never been submitted in his 11 bouts. He's 9-2, 6 KO/TKOs, 3 decisions. He's been knocked out once. He's been beaten by decision once. However, the people that have beaten him are pretty damn good, right? Hassan Yousefi, beat him via TKO. It was kind of a flash knockout in the very first round back in 2021, right before he made it to the UFC, about 2 fights before his UFC debut. And his UFC debut was against Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. The man came out here and got an absolute just stunning split decision win over him. And I mean, Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, is an absolute beast. And then, of course, his next loss was to Cal Barallo, who is fighting on this same card. A lot of guys that have fought each other fighting on this same card for whatever reason. You know, got to keep him in Brazil, I guess. It's easy travel. But he has wins over AJ Dobson and Christian Leroy Duncan. The man is good, right? We just haven't seen him show his ability that he had shown prior to the UFC debut to get knockouts, right? Like he had 5-6 knockouts back to back, whether he was receiving or giving. And then he makes it to the UFC, and ever since then it's been just decision after decision after decision. So I'd like to see him come out here and be able to get a knockout, but tough ask when you're coming in against the Black Belt Hunter himself. In this bout, I gotta lean towards Rodolfo Vieira. I think he has a fight IQ, and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, you know, I'm not the best grappler in the world. I'm more of a striker, striker's delight. But man, gonna call a spade here and just tell you straight up, I think the man has all the tools to get it done.
I love that breakdown, brother. And I won't add too much. Just my 2 cents are that it's a literal pick 'em. They both are -110 at this point, according to the odd makers. So Vegas is telling us that literally flip a coin, and that's probably who you have a good bet of winning the fight. But I am going to lean the hometown kid here in his backyard on his home turf, getting the home field advantage here. And like you said, I think he's a very talented fighter. I mean, he's had his ups and downs. If you look at his previous 5 fights, it's win, loss, win, loss, win. So maybe he's due for a loss if you're just looking at, again, just sort of some trends there. But I don't know. We got to use our eye here. We got to use our heart as well. And again, I mean, a great nickname like the Black Belt Hunter. I mean, my goodness, that in itself is pretty intimidating. That tells me that if it gets to the ground, if it's anywhere outside of the feet, and he has heavy hands too, so it just feels like Rodolfo Vieira will find a way to squeeze out a W here at home. So I'm leaning Rodolfo.
Let's go, Rodolfo. You love to see you, baby. Moving into the next one, here's a name that we were just now talking about. Caio Barallo coming in against Abus Magomedov. Nano, go ahead and start us off on this one, my guy.
Brother, this is a fun one, man. This is a fun one. Kai, the natural, Barallo, 14-1, 30 years old, just 4 knockouts and 4 subs, but a real well-rounded, bright star fighting in his backyard here, Brazil. Someone that's really relied on his athleticism and his explosive, or his ability to explode in exchanges, being able to take takedowns from that southpaw position, being able to snap that left hand. It's apparent that, again, that athleticism and being able to slowly piece together his MMA game is really what's allowed him to get here and to maintain, again, a 14-1 record. But we're going to need to see him take that next level of development, all right? He's going to need to look at my shirt, and he's going to need to go a little Super Saiyan on us, all right? Because he's going up against Abus Magomedov, who at 33 years old, only 3 years difference, but has double the amount of fights, 25-5 record, 14 knockouts. So as many wins as Caio has, Abbas has knockout victories, KO or TKO. The only thing that scares me with Abbas going on the road here, going into Caio's backyard, and coming off that most recent loss against Sean Strickland, where although he looked really good in the first round, he really started to fade really fast. I mean, it was alarming that although someone with a great record and someone who came into the UFC with a lot of hype, just frankly, all the wheels fell off at the same time. It just was like all systems failed. Both engines failed on the engine here, on the jet plane. Maybe it was just a complete worst case scenario. Maybe Sean Strickland, who is the champion now, so maybe Abbas just was drowning in quicksand there, which it was able to even get Israel Adesanya out of sorts. So maybe we shouldn't take that with a grain of salt, but unfortunately, that's just the most recent taste in my mouth. And I love what I'm seeing from Caio Borralho. I mean, this is going to be a really tough challenge. Although, and I mean, at minus 310 odds, that's telling me that Vegas thinks that he's going to be able to make this look a little bit easier than I'm even thinking it's going to be exciting. It's a close fight. I mean, Abbas is a dog. Again, he faded. That scared me, but I'm going to assume, I mean, this guy has all the tools in the toolbox. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, and he has a hell of a lot of more octagon experience. That's a lot. So everything considered, I'm going on the natural. I am going to lean the natural here. I'm leaning with the hometown kid, man. Again, Abbas scared me. I mean, I want to always go with these Magomedovs, or any of these Ovs, but not this Ov. I'm off this Ov, okay? I'm going with Kai, the natural, by decision. It's going to be a close one. He's going to have to earn it. Talk to me, brother. What are you thinking?
He is off the Ov. You heard it here first, guys. He does not believe in Abus Supian, a.k.a. Abus Magomedov, fighting out of Argon, Russia. I mean, the man did come in with a lot of hype, and he did look very, very deflated against Sean Strickland. However, when he was fighting Dustin Stoltzfus, he looked really solid. That being said, Dustin Stoltzfus is a very, very up and down fighter. I mean, the guy is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. And, one of those was the front kick knockout. Front kick followed up by punches knockout from Abus Magomedov. I'm with you, man. I think I'm off this off. And it's really hard to bet against Caio Borralho, not only because of his skills, not only because of what we see him do inside of the octagon, but because if you have not seen his picture on SureDog.com, do yourself a favor and check it out. Young man looks like fucking Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat. It's incredible. He's got the shades. He's like, yeah, Johnny Cage, fatality. It's bomb. Such a great picture. Now, moving into the actual stats and facts, yeah, he's got 1 loss. Yeah, he's got 1 no contest. Well, let me tell you, that loss was his second professional fight. That loss was back in 2015. The no contest was back in 2018, and that's okay, guys. Other than that, the man is an absolute showstopper. He's an absolute finisher. He's got 4 KOs, 4 submissions, 6 decisions, fighting out of the Fighting Nerds, which I've never even fucking heard of, but I love it. Bruno Brazil trains there too, apparently, and you love to hear that. The man's nickname is The Natural. He should change it to Hollywood because the man's going places, folks. Caio Borralho, bet the house on him.
Take it to the bank. Cha-ching. I love it. Great analysis.
I truly think that he gets it done, man. I think he not only goes out there and beats him, but I think he goes out there and gets a knockout over him. I would say inside the distance, Caio Borralho, get those juicy odds, folks. Moving into the next one, Nano, I'm going to go and let you take the lead on this one. We got Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira coming in against someone that we've lost money on before. Talking about Dontel Mays. Who you got?
Yes, unfortunately. Thank you for the lead in here. But yep, we got Rodrigo Nascimento in his backyard, 30 years old, 2 knockouts under his belt, 10-1, very impressive record. Going up against a more grizzled veteran here, a little bit more tread on the tires, a Dontel Mays, 31 years old, 10-5 record, but 6 knockouts. I just feel like Dontel is the more powerful fighter. I mean, Lord Kong himself is going to have 1-inch reach advantage. And he's coming off the most recent win against my boy, Andrei Arlovski, one of my favorites of all time. So although Dontel's closer to a 50-50 fighter here, and this is, two heavyweights that, even according to the matchmakers, or the odd makers, I should say, it's minus 195, for Rodrigo, plus 165 for Dontel. That's pretty darn close. I mean, these guys both have a puncher's chance. Dontel at 6'6", he's gonna have 4 inches of height, but only 1 inch of reach advantage. So it really not much there. It's all a wash to me. But again, I just think Dontel just looks like the stronger guy. I think he's gonna find a way to maybe put Rodrigo out. So I know I've been leaning the hometown kids here, but I'm gonna have to go with the American on this one. I'm gonna go the underdog and go Dontel Mays to win. I know I've lost money on him before, so fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, I ain't getting fooled again. Okay, he's winning this time around. What do you think, brother?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't think that you were going to go there. You're betting on Lord Kong himself, the man who came out there. I mean, he got the win over Andrei Arlovsky, sure, but God, it's a terrible fight. And I mean, that Augusto Sakai fight was just absolute dog poop. So bad. Such a bad fight. That being said, looking across from him, we got Rodrigo Nascimento, a.k.a. Yogi Bear Zikhalmeya, he's got 10-1, right, for his record, standing at 6'4", 265 pounds, fighting out of American Top Team over in Florida by way of Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, Brazil. The man's an absolute beast. He came out there and got the decision over Tanner, the Bulldozer Bozer. He got a win that was overturned to a no contest over Alan Badeau. He got the win over Ilir Latifi. He also got the win back in 2020 over a young man named Dontel Mays. You heard of him? It's a rematch.
Rings a bell.
This is a rematch.
Even more why I want the underdog. Okay, I like my dogs around here.
This is a rematch. Rear naked choke. He got him in it in round 2. Dontel Mays. I think we're going to see history repeat itself. I think it's actually going to happen inside of the first round, guys. I think Rodrigo Nascimento gets it done and brings that stamina, that victory, and that swagger all the way back home to American Top Team. And I think Dontel Mays continues to show that, just because you train with John Jones doesn't mean you get wins like John Jones.
That's a good call out. Tough crap.
So that's my pick for that one. Moving forward, guys, we have already made our way into the co-main event of the evening, folks, and you love to hear it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
It's time, folks. It's time. I actually am as stoked about this co-main event as I am about the main event. And I know you're probably thinking like, well, that's kind of weird. And you know what? You'd probably be right. That is a little bit weird. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. I want to hear you break down how you feel. And then I say we do a shot before we jump into my breakdown.
Ooh, sounds great, brother. Well, I don't know if this is a therapy session. I'm assuming you're talking about how I feel about this fight, this banger of a co-main event, and not my personal feelings, which we can talk about maybe off camera here, off the record, because I have a lot of those. I know, I look like I made of steel, but under this steel, I have feelings. Back to the co-main event here, okay? Don't get too sidetracked. We have the other
Nano, the onion. So many layers.
I'm a complex man. Oh man, but I digress. We're gonna have to talk about the other brother here, okay? Gabriel Bonfim, possibly the more talented brother here, okay? Because he is 15-0. He has not sniffed a defeat yet. 26 years old, 12 submissions, a little bit more of a specialist, and frankly, a little bit more momentum, and I think, frankly, more poised for a breakout performance here. The question is he good enough to go potentially 15 minutes with a legitimate MMA fighter, with an absolute dog, okay? A savage by the name of Nicholas Dalby. At 38 years old, the age scares me. You know how I feel about these old bucks, man, going against my young guys. But not all of them are Nicholas Dalby, okay? 22-4 at 38 years old, 12 decision wins. Dude's an absolute grinder. I think that stood out to me most. Doesn't matter how many finishes you have. You had 12 decision wins. You've gone 36 minutes and you've come out on top of those 36 minutes. It's impressive as all hell. Oh wait, no. I think I did the wrong math. I got to times that by 12. It's even more. That's a lot of minutes. It's a lot of minutes, man. But yeah, again, Nicholas Dalby coming in with a lot of experience, being able to prove that he can go into deep waters and come out to the surface with the victory. Been in all different types of scenarios. He is on a 3-fight win streak. I think that's huge. And his ability to be able to capture this young buck hype would be a massive statement for this point of his career. You rush him to the top if he does, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the hype train's staying with Gabriel Bonfim. Chugga chugga choo choo. I'm going with the young buck here. I think he's going to find a way to submit him. I think, and the thing is too that people are forgetting here, Gabriel Bonfim has phenomenal boxing. This dude can piece it up like no other. So Nicholas, if he wants to sit there and trade, I know he can use his legs. I know he has good knees as well. So maybe that's a way to neutralize some of the boxing technique that Gabriel's going to showcase. But ladies and gentlemen, Gabriel can showcase some great boxing. I know we saw Ngannou and Fury boxing, and we talked about that at the beginning here of the show, but we're going to see some great boxing here showcase as well until it gets to the ground where he'll take your neck and take an arm or take a limb and crank it until you don't want to crank no more. So I'm going to lean the young buck here. Gabriel Bonfim, sky's the limit, brother. I'm excited for you to showcase in your backyard here. A lot of talent here in this card, man, and Brazil in general. I mean, this is a country that's been hungry for champions. Obviously, Amanda Nunes went out on top. Obviously, Bronx Charles Oliveira had his time, with the gold, able to bring it back home. And I think one of his training partners is on this card as well. We didn't break down that fight, Elvis Brenner, but again, a lot of talent. I'm excited as all hell, but there's a reason why he's in the co-main event here, and I think it's because everyone knows he's a dog. And that's Gabriel Bonfim. I think he's going to win by decision, though. I'd love to see him get a sub, but it's going to be by decision. It's going to be a hard 15-minute fight. It's going to be fun. What do you think, brother? Hit me with it while I pour up the shot.
You get that shot poured up while he pours that shot up, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. Everything you said is true. There were no lies detected in anything that you said. Absolutely no lies detected. As unfortunate as it is. You let me know when you got that shot poured up.
I'm ready. You ready?
I'm born ready, baby. Let's go.
Ladies and gents.
Get into this breakdown. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen.
If you're drinking on anything, take a drink for us. Stay hydrated. Or drink with us, I should say. Not for us. We're not making you do anything. Please. Don't blame us.
No peer pressure.
No peer pressure. No peer pressure.
So, go ahead and switch the banner at the bottom here. Boom! Jumping into this fight here, guys. There's some things. There's some stuff. There's some things. There's some stuff and things that I need to just go through when it comes to this fight. And there's some fun facts, okay? Now, Gabriel Bonfim, I think we can both agree is probably the better Bonfim brother. Fair? Fair enough.
Very fair, now, very fair.
Maratinha fighting out of Brasilia, Brazil, which is just a fun-ass place to say out loud. Man's an absolute beast, right? He's undefeated. Most of his career outside of the UFC, only made it to the UFC just 2 fights ago after getting a stunning shoulder choke, as it's titled on Sherdog, in Dana White's Contender Series. I'm assuming the shoulder choke was a Von Flue choke. I'm having a fuzzy memory here. Either way, after that, he got the win over Munir Lazzez and Trevin Giles, a.k.a. 5-star Trevin Giles, a.k.a. the problem Giles, Trevin Giles. Now, the man can bang, make no mistake. He's gotten 3 back-to-back chokes in the UFC, technically, if you include Dana White's Contender Series. 4 back-to-back chokes if you include outside of that in LFA. Oh, and he's gotten 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh my God, hold on. Can we get this straight? 15 back-to-back finishes. The man is a finishing machine, which means he's going to win against Nicholas Danish Dynamite Dalby. As much as I love Nicholas Dalby, sometimes that is it's just the way the news goes. But I'm going to change things up real quick here, because sometimes the script just does not go the way it's supposed to go. And sometimes things happen, like Nicholas Danish Dynamite Dalby being undefeated against Brazilians, being 4-0 against Brazilians. Oh, and being 2-0 against Brazilians in Brazil. So what do you think is going to fucking happen, folks? He's going to go out there and he's going to get another one, because last time I checked, this young man, Gabriel Bonfim, he's Brazilian too. We're going to play it again. He's Brazilian too. And last time I checked, that's right, Nano's having to adjust the hair. He's having to fix the hat. He's all flustered, folks, because they're fighting in Brazil. It's a double whammy. I'm going Nicholas Dalby here. Give me the underdog. Love it. You can't deny the facts. You can't defy the MMA gods.
Welcome to the darkest year of our adventures.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't deny that phenomenal theme music. I mean, I don't think we were ready for that, nor were the Brazilian people. My goodness. Very persuasive. Very persuasive. I had to gather myself, like you mentioned. I am not expecting that. But, man, and you might be a rich man if you put a couple units down on that bet.
I think it was
be
plus
getting
450 last time I
plus
checked.
450. That is still the case.
And that's just money line.
Sheesh.
God forbid the man goes out there and gets a finish. But I think money line is a safe bet, because that's typically what he does. We're talking Warley Alves. We're talking Claudio Silva. We're talking Daniel Rodriguez. We're talking Alex Oliveira. Like, come on.
Forget about it. That is some fair points, brother. You bring up a lot of fair points.
He also fought Darren Till to a draw back in 2015 when Darren Till was really fucking good. So yeah. Nicholas Dalby is an absolute stud. Oh, and not to mention
Warley Alves he beat as well.
That's what I'm saying. Warley Alves is a stud, bro. Dude, he has a 2-inch reach advantage here too. I think people are sleeping on that. That's a pretty solid reach advantage for somebody who's got hands like Nicholas. And even though he's got a height deficit by, I think, 2 inches, the man has crazy solid spinning back kicks. 4-inch height deficit, actually. 5'9" coming in against 6'1", but still, he is one of those guys that, like, I don't know if you remember, there were a couple of fights where, like, Derek Lewis would throw a random head kick and you're like, what the fuck? He can get his leg that high? Like, yeah, how do you Nicholas Dalby just randomly is like, his leg just whips up there really quick. So I could see some crazy stuff happening. But either way, I got to be honest with you, I think Nicholas Dalby gets it done. Man, I don't know what it is, but just, I don't know if he hates Brazilians or what, but he's just extra motivated against Brazilian fighters. He goes out there and gets it done every time. So I'm expecting him to go 5-0 against Brazilians in the UFC.
Wow. That is a good stat.
Fun fact,
I mean,
right?
You got numbers. Numbers are numbers. You got to look at the numbers. You got to look at the stats. That's why y'all.
If there are two things that you take away from this whole episode and this whole podcast, it's this: the numbers don't lie, and Shakira's hips don't lie. You know what I'm saying?
Oh well, yeah, that is a fact. They still don't to this day. To this day.
To this day.
To this day.
Deontay Wilder, man. To this day.
Shakira's hips got me wilder, man. My goodness.
You know, hey, speaking of getting wilder, we got to jump into this main event. The main event of the evening, folks. We got Jive Turkey Almeida coming in against Derek. His balls was hot, Lewis. Nano, tell us how you feeling about this.
I'm feeling excited about this, man. Just when we had a fire heavyweight boxing match, now we have a fire heavyweight UFC match. And we had some recent heavyweight news as well that we broke down. Go check that episode out if you haven't yet. But man, a lot of shaking up, a lot of shaking and stirring here in the heavyweight division. But hey, it's always next man up, and nobody's ever more ready and able to get in the octagon any day, any time, and be willing to throw blows. And that's Derek Hotballs Lewis taking this fight. Like you mentioned, Curtis Blades had to step out. So we get Jive Turkey Almeida squaring off against Hotballs. I'm going to stick with Jive Turkey Almeida first, the hometown kid, 32 years old, 19-2 with 12 submissions. the dude is an absolute juggernaut. I mean, he's built the part. Like we talked about, he's looks like a comic book character. I mean, this guy can be the Brazilian Basher or something like that. But he is definitely poised. If he can get a win over a Derek Hotball Lewis, he is right in line to be one of the next title contenders, in my opinion. Early next year, even. I mean, it is right there. John Jones is out for at least 8 months. Stipe is not going to get that chance. UFC is going to hold off for the, homage of the best heavyweight of all time, stick. So, hey, run it. All these heavyweights, this is your time to strike. And we're going to see a matchup here coming up very soon against some heavyweights. And if none of them get hurt, I think they'll want to run it right back and keep it active because it's been stale, have not been a lot of champions. And again, you have a lot of savages, and Jailton is a perfect example of something we like to say around here is just that new school, that new age fighter, that new generation of talent that has everything, all the tools in the bag. Again, I mentioned in the beginning here, 12 submissions as a heavyweight fighter and has the power to knock you out if need be. So again, I think he's poised for to be that next title contender. And as much as I love Derek Hotballs Lewis, who has 22 knockouts, most in UFC history. I mean, dude's an absolute savage. 27 wins. I mean, come on. Yeah, he's a legend, Hall of Famer. His place is written in stone. But at 38 years old, again, I mean, I hate seeing that age difference. And I think at this stage in his career, he just won't have I'll just say Giles is going to come in much quicker. Okay, he's going to hit him with some heavy shots. And he has a grappling and ground game and clinch game that I just don't think Derek Lewis has an answer for. So I'll leave it there. I love hot balls, but they're going to be a little bit cooled off this Saturday. And I think Jailton Almeida is going to find a way to squeeze out a victory. Maybe in the first, unless these guys start off a bit slow because there's some heavy boys. And like we saw this last weekend, when two strikers know that they can get dropped with one punch, you're just not going to see as many risks. You're not going to see as many strikes. Sometimes, power clashes against power and you don't see as much explosion. So with that in mind, I think by the second round, we can see Jailton Almeida start to put this away. Maybe by TKO. More likely, though, I think he can get him to the ground and submit him. Something crazy. But it's going to be fun. Tune in now. What are you thinking, brother?
Same thing, man. I think when it comes to this fight, Derek Lewis, as much as I'm a fan, as much as I typically like to bet with my heart, I can't let myself bet with my heart in this one. Derek Lewis is somebody that is an absolute legend to the sport, always a fun person on the mic after his fights and before his fights for that matter, and always entertaining in the fight, whether it's faking being hurt so that he can land a big overhand right or just throwing a random flying knee when you don't think it's even possible for a man that big to throw a flying knee so gracefully. Either way, the man goes out there and puts on an absolute show. I think this time he's going to be the nail instead of the hammer when it comes to this equation, folks. As unfortunate as it is, this is simply the way the news goes. This is the way the sport goes. And this is the way it's going to go on Saturday night when it comes to him facing Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida is an absolute phenom when it comes to the sport. He's burst onto the scene in recent years. Still very young, sitting at 32 years of age, 19-2. He's got 12 submissions, 7 KOs to his name. By the way, he's beaten folks like Anton Turkalj, talking about the Pleasure Man, Jairzinho Rosenstruck, Paca Porta, Danilo Marquez, the list goes on. And the difference between him and most of these prospects that make it to the UFC, folks, is this. He made it to the UFC with all this hype behind him, and since making it to the UFC, it has only continued to get better. Since making it to the UFC, the man has strung together not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 back-to-back victories. And not only that, but 5 back-to-back finishes. The man goes out there and he gets it done very quickly. Most of the time, he's finishing in the very, very first round. So looking at this man's trajectory, he's got a very long career ahead of him because he doesn't take a whole lot of damage. In fact, in his 5 UFC fights, the man has fought less than 1 whole championship fight worth. So he's fought less than 5 full UFC rounds in 5 fights. Come the fuck on, folks. The man's a stud.
Bonkers. That's bonkers.
He's literally like just shy of a 25-minute fight.
And what's crazy is there's a Sergey Pavlovich, there's a Tommy Aspinall. All these dudes, like they don't sniff a lot of time in there, brother. They're out there. If you would think they're getting paid by the second.
I was gonna say they don't get paid by the minute. They get paid by the job, and they're out there to finish that job very quickly, as quick as possible. So I mean, good on them for taking the fight. I hope Derek Lewis gets paid very, very handsomely. But I think Jailton Almeida is going to just notch this one onto the list of heads that he seems to be hanging on his wall and his mantle. And it'll be on to the next one for him. Realistically, I expect us to be here on Monday, bright and early, or rather nice and late in the evening, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, going over our kind of reaction to these fights, what we think should happen next. And I likely think that we'll be picking out a new opponent for Jailton Almeida.
Well, like I said, I mean, that opponent might be should be TBD, depending on a winner of a potential heavyweight championship bout. Because again, I think Jailton's that good. Especially if Stipe and John Jones are out of the question. These are the guys, and this is the guy. If he could go out and beat a Derek Lewis, I mean, if he could finish him, that's in and of itself worthy, I think, of that. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, if that's the case, then without a shadow of a doubt, he's got to get the winner of the fight that happens the very next Saturday, which we're going to be going over in 7 days from right now.
Exactly.
Probably around this exact time, we'll be talking about that fight. Talking about Sergey Pavlovich fighting against Tom Aspinall, folks.
Exactly.
That happens in 7 days. Well, not 7 days, but we'll be talking about it in 7 days.
Hey, man, timing's everything. Like I mentioned, the stars are aligning for Jailton and a potential Sergey or our boy Tommy Aspinall. Boy, I can't. Can you imagine Tom Aspinall is the champion, potentially? He's got a tough matchup in front of him, though, brother. Yeah, I can't wait to break that down. Y'all better tune in next week. But make sure you tune in Saturday.
A fire episode.
Oh, baby. But yeah,
I already got a haircut
Saturday.
lined up for it, bro. You already know.
Oh, my hair's growing, man. I'm gonna have an afro by then. I will wear the hat next week, so I'll have it showcased.
Have to change his name to Jive Turkey Samson. Gets his power from his hair.
There you go. Come on.
So yeah, I mean, again, I'm not in disagreement. I realistically think it'll be an easy one for us next week on Monday. Jailton Almeida will get the winner of Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall. And I think we're going to have a lot of other really, really fun ones to talk about, man. We got Matt Favola coming in against Benoit St. Denis. Diego, where are you? Lopez coming in against Pat Sabatini. We got Yuri Prokaska coming in against Alex Pereira. We're talking about a fucking comic book fight in that one, folks. Tabitha Baby Shark Ricci coming in against Lupi Guldinez. Man, I mean, the list goes on and on. So I'm super stoked about it, folks. I think it's going to be an absolute banger of a card, and I can't wait to watch it.
I'm excited, brother. Let's go. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for your time, man. This is a fun one. And again, Brazil, a lot of talent, man. These are a lot of fighters that, again, are not necessarily household names just yet, but we're going to be hearing about them a lot to come. So tune in. Get ahead of it, y'all, so you could show off to your friends and family about, I know this guy. I've seen this guy. He's a stud. Put some money on him. Let's go.
Absolutely, folks. And make sure you tune in next Monday. So Monday, we will be doing a little two-sectional white. We'll be going over our breakdown of the cards, our prediction for what should be next, or rather our opinion of what should be next for these fighters, mainly for the winners, biggest winners of the card. And then, of course, we're going to have a little bit of a fantasy football sectional with Nano obviously taking the lead here. He's the pro. I'm the schmo when it comes to that. He's going to be giving us his best waiver wire picks for Monday following directly that Monday night game. It might even still be going on whenever we first start the episode. So stay tuned for that. Nano's definitely going to have to do his homework next week, folks, putting him on the hot seat here. And if you haven't already, whether you're new here, old here, returning, we would really appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe, smash that bell for notifications, and make sure you tune in Monday and Wednesday next week, where we will continue to do what we do, and hopefully you continue to do what you do, which is enjoy the show and keep that passion for mixed martial arts alive, folks. We'll see you then.
You've been listening to the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. As you may have been able to tell, we dig the MMA, and our passion is to dive deep into the upcoming fights, give you our expert breakdowns, and help you make sense of all the chaos that is the fight game. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, make sure to find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at MMAnomaly. Be cool, and we'll see you next time.